Back in college, from the first day of a new semester, I used to decide to study every day so that I could score well in the main semester exams. And what ended up happening was I used to study the day before the main semester exam and then I would take the test the next day. Has this ever happened to you that you would wait until the deadline is so close and only then would you start working? If so, then stay tuned to know why this happens and a step-by-step solution on how to correct this, especially if you work from home or if you work for yourself, and also if you work from somebody else or if you are a student. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you about a productivity hack that can help you increase your productivity, decrease procrastination, and get your work done probably in lesser time than you thought you needed. I am talking about the Parkinson's law. So the Parkinson's law says that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So what this means is that the amount of time that you have to complete a task is exactly the amount of time in which you will be completing that work. So let's say that I give you a task. Let's say I tell you to write a blog on Parkinson's law and I give you exactly 3 weeks to do it. Guess in how much time you're going to do it. You're going to do it in 3 weeks. And if I give you 3 days to do it, you're going to do it in 3 days. And if I give you just 2 hours to complete it, well, you're going to do it in just 2 hours. So why exactly is this happening? You see, when you have more time to complete a task than is actually required to do it, you just, take it easy. Which means that you start doing other things like scrolling through social media, watching a movie, playing video games, etc. because you know that you have a lot of time to complete that task. But as the deadline approaches and you realize that you don't have a lot of time to complete the task now, you just forget about everything else and you get into work mode. Completing that task becomes your primary focus, becomes a priority for you, and everything else becomes secondary. You forget about everything else and you do that work with pure focus. There is nothing that can distract you at that time. You don't get distracted by notifications, you don't feel like playing video games. All you want to do is get that work done. So do you see that the work expands to fill the time that is available for its completion? Now, the reason why most of us tend to give ourselves more time than is actually required to complete a task is because we feel that with extra time in hand, we're going to get that task done more perfectly. But usually that does not end up happening because there is no sense of urgency when we have so much extra time in hand. So we end up procrastinating. But when the deadline is approaching, when the deadline is quite near, we just stop procrastinating. Okay, so now let's talk about how you can make the Parkinson's law work in your favor. The first thing that I want you to understand is that you have to set deadlines. If there is no deadline, if there is no completion date, then it is very likely that that task is never going to get completed. You might avoid setting deadlines because you do not want to put a lot of pressure on yourself, but what you need to understand is that the deadline stress is a good stress. Like the deadline stress motivates you to get things done, and if there is no deadline stress, if there is no deadline at all, then you're never gonna get anything done. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to do is to make a list of everything that you have to do. Write down everything that you have to get done. Now the next thing that I want you to do is to estimate how much time you're going to need to complete each of these tasks, and I want you to be very realistic with the estimations. I don't want you to underestimate how much time you need for each of these tasks, and I also don't want you to overestimate the amount of time you need to complete each of these tasks because you just want to get things done with more perfection. Now I want you to pick 6 tasks that you want to get done in one day. Just 6. Nothing more than that. The time estimations that you have made, I want you to see them as deadlines. So if you have mentioned that you need 2 hours to complete a task, then I want you to see that as a deadline to complete that task. And I also want you to honor yourself and honor your estimations, just like you would honor a deadline given by your boss or by your teacher. I also want you to set a time for when you're going to stop working each day. It can be the same time for every day or it can be a different time every single day. It doesn't matter. Just set a time every day when you're going to stop working. This is so important because, again, because of Parkinson's law, the work is going to expand and fill your entire day. day. So you're gonna end up working till you have to go to bed, and if you do that, you're gonna end up burning yourself out, and we want to be productive and we don't want to exhaust ourselves. Now, there are a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. When I say that you have to set deadlines for yourself, I'm not only talking to those who have a side hustle or personal goals or those who work for themselves, I'm also talking to those who work for others or who have work that has deadlines set by somebody else. I'm also talking to students and people who work for others. So if you have a task that is given to you by somebody else and they have set a deadline to complete that task, I want you to set your own personal deadline for that task and treat that as a real deadline. So let's say that your teacher has given you an assignment and she's given you a week to submit that assignment, and from experience you know that whenever the teacher gives you an assignment with a week's deadline, you only end up working 5 hours before the deadline is near. So now I want you to set a personal deadline for yourself of 5 hours and ignore the deadline of 1 week that the teacher has set for you. Then I want you to work on that assignment for 5 hours as soon as you can and then complete that assignment. After that, you can just rest and chill for the entire week without having the assignment always in the back of your mind. The second thing is that when you pick 6 tasks for yourself for the day, and if you see that you're just able to complete 4 or 5 tasks in that particular day, I want you to carry over the rest of the tasks to the next day instead of trying to complete them in that single day. It's okay as long as you're honoring your deadlines and you're not underestimating the time that you need to get the task done. So far we have discussed that the Parkinson's law states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. If we have more time in hand to complete a task, we won't start until the deadline is near. You have to set deadlines for yourself and you need to honor them. You have to set a stop working deadline for yourself each day so that you get enough time to unwind. Now let me know in the comment section below if you've ever experienced Parkinson's law, and while you're still here, make sure that you subscribe to my channel by pressing this button, because in my next video I'm gonna tell you how to avoid distractions and increase your productivity. And make sure that you check out these 2 videos right here, because I have a suspicion that you're gonna love them. I will see you soon in the next video. Until then, keep loving, keep dreaming. This is Ruchika Srivastava signing off.